The guy who killed his son's mother without thinking twice. Notorious mass murderer and sexual assaulter who is viewed as a demon by some and savior by others. Someone who's deemed as an ogre who loves his dreams of horrendous actions and lives for the sake of absolute strength. Is Yujiro Hanma a psychopath? To begin this discussion, a psychopath can be defined as a disorder involving deficient emotional responses, lack of empathy, with violent or abnormal social behavior that connects to antisocial deviance and criminal actions, with many arguing these leading to different types of psychopaths with various overlapping in traits. To keep this video simple, we have narcissistic, borderline, sadistic, and antisocial as the main types I'll be considering. First, let's go over the traits Yujiro definitely has in relation to the broader term. His showings of manipulative behavior are most evident during the first manga, Grappler BAKI. This is towards BAKI himself and his mother. For example, he literally stole Emmy from another man and caused her to become obsessed with him to such a degree she added to, continued, and promoted the abuse of her son until her final moments when I guess her motherly instincts broke through. Pretty wild stuff. And for BAKI, Yujiro is the reason he became what he is today, making BAKI fall in love with fighting, some can argue, gaining strength to be capable of fighting Yujiro to give Yujiro what he wants. Furthermore, you can take a simple, light-hearted scene like Yujiro and BAKI playing rock paper scissors, with Yujiro's scissors defeating BAKI, as also showcasing his ability to manipulate. This is all for the sake of absolute dominance, and technically he manipulated all major governments in the world to believe not even a nuke would be capable of stopping him, which is kinda funny. When we consider narcissistic, you can say this is Yujiro's entire character. Him being arrogant and self-important is shown pretty much every time we see him. He's insanely aggressive, views himself as number one, while others also view him as number one, so it's a little iffy in that aspect. No one is able to criticize him, which is shown in all the scenes of him and BAKI talking. BAKI tries to talk some shit, and it just ends with Yujiro's rage or something else. Take for example, the over 1,000 chapters of BAKI. Have we ever seen Yujiro make a claim that he was wrong? There's only really one point in the entire series where we can say Yujiro isn't being 100% narcissistic, that being at the end of his fight with BAKI. This being when he gives BAKI the win and title after not technically winning the fight. However, this was only due to BAKI being capable of making Yujiro believe in the fantasy with his imagination, which allowed him to view this as a defeat. When it comes to lack of remorse, this is also clear. He's done various heinous actions throughout the series. This includes tormenting BAKI with the head of the Yasha ape, something BAKI recently befriended. Let's take what Yujiro is actually saying while BAKI is crying in the scene. Yes, that's it. That's the feeling I can't be forgiven. Even if I am your father, how could you forgive someone who was doing a thing like this? You can't. Proceeding to beat up his son as well. Even much later in the series when BAKI was questioning Yujiro about why he killed his mother, Yujiro doesn't show any signs of remorse, just annoyance of his son actually questioning his actions. With this also connecting to another trait, Yujiro being impulsive, once again very clear. He does what he wants at any point in the series. Whether it requires violence, manipulation, or other methods, Yujiro will do anything for the sake of domination. Let's say people found this wild dinosaur man. Sure, let's walk into the military base from the front door. Wants a challenging fight? Sure, let's pick a worthy woman, have a child, torment that child until he gains power on my level. Wants to get stronger? Sure, let's enter battlefields around the world. As mentioned, Yujiro and the idea of dominance are expressed in the series to an insane degree. For example, fairly recently in the manga, it was revealed that Yujiro's male hormone levels are so high, he can be considered as the only male, As such, it can be said that Yujiro views everyone else as female due to this, once again connecting to the idea of dominance considering what was revealed around that. He devoured a massive amount of fighters for the sake of becoming the crystallization of strength. Therefore, he can be considered a sadistic psychopath. This is because he seems to enjoy inflicting pain on others in a physical and mental way. Just take this sequence I mentioned at the start of the video. Yujiro's dream, which highlights these actions occurring and is something he greatly enjoys. Him being an antisocial psychopath is also possible with his impulsive actions and criminal behavior occurring throughout the series. But a major trait that I would say is the main aspect of a real psychopath, at least according to some, that I haven't actually broken down yet, is empathy. This can be defined as the ability to take on another's perspective, to understand, feel, and possibly share and respond to their experience. Connecting to how one can be argued as a psychopath, as they have a high level of understanding and capability of reading people's emotions, but themselves don't understand the emotion. For example, they know people are facing some type of distress, but cannot relate to the impact and effects of said distress. Additionally, some people argue psychopaths have really no emotion, and I'll expand on this point later. So with Yujiro, the idea of him lacking empathy is interesting. Let's take his relationship with BAKI. The whole purpose of him having his son was to fight him for his own selfish desire or depression of becoming too strong perhaps, meaning the actions taken that can be seen as Yujiro lacking empathy, killing Emi, tormenting BAKI, etc. are also connected to his main goal, and maybe he sacrificed these aspects for the sake of that. For example, we have moments where there is a place for an argument that he actually does have empathy. Additionally, it's believed that psychopathy is a genetic or condition people are born with, which also connects to Yujiro in the series a little bit, simply taking what he wants right after birth. So I think it's safe to say without a doubt that Yujiro from the start of the series, the first manga Grapple BAKI, is the version or portrayal of Yujiro that mostly connects with being a psychopath compared to any other we see later in the series. Whether this is due to him changing as a character, becoming nicer as some people claim, who knows, but that's just what I believe. Later points, he still has most of the traits, and you could say it depends on whether he's required to have all the traits to be labelled as a psychopath. Additionally, as I mentioned, some argue that to be a psychopath, you have to be emotionless, which if you don't know, Yujiro isn't emotionless. Anger is a main part of his character, which means it's very possible that Yujiro is just a sociopath, something that has various traits very similar to psychopaths, apart from the idea of them being emotionless. For example, sociopaths tend to lack some types of emotion, for example, feeling guilty, happiness or sadness, while also having others, this commonly being anger, which is definitely connected and shown with Yujiro's character, meaning depending on your view and what you regard a psychopath as, or what the research identifies it as, something that isn't 100% clear or 100% definitive in any way, a topic that will continue to develop over time when further research is done and further agreement. If you take one study and they identify traits for a psychopath and compare it to another, yes, there will be some similar aspects, however there will also be differences, so consider all that for the sake of today's video. So of all this, it's possible Yujiro is a psychopath. I would say it's highly likely, but maybe he's just a sociopath, or maybe he's both, considering it's a character in a fictional series that has more or less stayed the same since the beginning, but has made subtle changes and character growth moments, which I'll be talking about in future videos. I hope you enjoyed this more so unique type of video. If you want to suggest your own video topics, consider becoming a member. And of course, shout out to the Mad Lads, subscribe for more. That's it guys, peace.